So some people have asked how I deal with showering since I'm in a camper van that doesn't have a shower. Besides swimming in a loch, if there's one nearby, stopping at what they call leisure centers, which is kind of like what we would call a community center or just a public swimming pool essentially. And so this one I was just at in Invergordon has a really lovely pool and gymnasium space and that. And then you just ask if you can use the showers in the change room, and they charge you a little bit of money to go in and just have a shower. So it's working out well. They're clean, they're safe, lots of hot water, everything you need, and then I can be on my way. As I continued north on the A9, I noticed a sign for the Badbae Historical Clearance Village. This is a completely unattended site, no admission fee or facilities, just a parking lot on the side of the road with some plaques to read and a walking trail towards the cliffs. From my limited understanding, the families that lived in this village were kicked out of their previous homes during the Highland clearances. Essentially, landowners evicted tenants in order to make room for sheep farming. Some families immigrated elsewhere, but some were relocated to settlements, including this one. It was inhabited in the 18th and 19th centuries, with the last resident leaving in 1911. And in that same year, the monument you could still see today was erected. Other than the monument, you can walk around and find foundations and walls of ruined buildings. The village location high on a windy cliff was not ideal. Legend has it that animals and even children had to be tethered when playing outside to avoid them being blown off the cliffs. As I continued up the coast, my next stop was Cairn O'Get. This is also an unattended attraction accessed by parking your car and then walking through a farmer's field. Land access rights in Scotland mean that walking through private property for educational purposes, such as visiting historical sites, is permitted. It feels really bizarre to do this, but this particular site had a sign and then black and white painted posts along the way to follow. It was a longer walk than I expected, but the sheep and beautiful sights made it worth it. The cairn is about 5,000 years old. It's a tomb that was used for cremations and burials. It would have been much more impressive at one point. Much has been destroyed over the years, but there's just something indescribable about standing next to a structure that is this old. It's humbling. Not far at all from Cairn O'Get is a completely different historical site. The Whaligoe Steps are a bit hard to find, and you need to be up for a bit of exercise to climb down, but more importantly back up, some 350 steep steps. If you brave it, you're rewarded by being surrounded by cliffs and an excellent spot for birdwatching and reflecting. If you look around, there are a few artifacts of the steps history as part of a fishing harbor which was used from the 1700s to the 1960s. As a reward for my stair climbing efforts, I enjoyed some of the best ice cream I've ever had at the cafe situated at the top of the steps. The sweet proprietor let me try every kind until I found one I loved, the dark chocolate. Don't pass it up. So I'm just in the parking lot at Tesco. I went in not really because I needed anything, but because I kind of felt like wandering around a store. Got a cool pair of socks, some fruit and some bread, and none of it I needed, but that's okay. I've probably been noticing this like amazing sunburn I have going on. I did not expect to get a sunburn in Scotland, so I've been trying to remember to put my sunscreen on today. I don't know if it got any worse. Hopefully not too bad. So I am near Wick and about to try to find a spot for the night. But I had a pretty busy day. I went to the leisure center this morning after I left my campsite, and then I just wandered up the A9 highway on the east coast of the North Coast 500, and it just kind of stopped whenever things looked pretty or there's like signs for random things. So there's a sign for a historical village, so I pulled in, and it was a really pretty walk down to this area that was inhabited a while ago. There wasn't much left, just a little bit of ruins, but it was pretty. And then I kept going and ended up at 5,000-year-old cairns or cairns. I don't know how to say anything around here, so sorry if I'm butchering place names. It was just really cool because we don't really have things that old in Canada. I guess maybe we do, but I mean, it's just not that common to be able to be in a place where there's a physical structure from that long ago. And so that was neat. And actually one of the funnest parts about that was you had to walk through like a farmer's field to get there. And so I was like walking right next to some sheep. They were cute, so that was fun. And then I went to a place called Whaligoe Steps, and you walk down a whole lot of steps into this, I don't know what you call it, fjord or something, similar to a fjord at least. And there were all these birds nesting, and so it was fun to watch them fly around and feed their young. And there's some kayakers, going out. It was just really pretty. And I had some ice cream at the little cafe there, and it was delicious. And yeah, that was pretty much my day. And so now I'm just wandering around Wick, and then gotta find somewhere for tonight. As I wandered to find a spot to park for the night, my historic adventures were not yet over. I stumbled upon a parking lot overlooking an abandoned pier from the early 1900s. Next to where I parked was a monument from the 1800s with the words Festina Lente on the side. I discovered it means make haste slowly. I thought that was the perfect motto for my journey.